Hello, and welcome to another episode of Unusual Instruments That I Don't Know How to Play. I'm your host, Mr. Jamie, and I'm here on behalf of the Newport News Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Instructional Programs. Let's start with some quick disclaimers. When I say unusual instruments, I really mean uncommon, not necessarily odd, just not common. When I say I don't know how to play, what I mean is I am going to make sound on the instruments. So technically I will play them, but what I mean is I don't know the proper techniques. I haven't really learned how the instrument works and the correct way to play it. Let's get started. All right, so here we have a unusual instrument. Extra unusual because it's made out of cardboard. Good ones are made out of wood. This one happens to be made out of cardboard. Unless you live in certain areas in the United States, you would not have encountered these. This is a mountain dulcimer, to be distinguished from the hammer dulcimer, which is a completely different instrument. This is the mountain dulcimer. Standard mountain dulcimer has 3 strings. I don't know that you can tell from there, but there's a thick string, a low string, there's a middle string, and there's a high string. We call that the melody string. Now, there's multiple ways this would have been played, and I should point out, as I usually do, this is an instrument I do know how to play. So it doesn't really fit the I don't know how to play category. I actually teach this instrument. It is a fairly simple instrument because it has only 3 strings. It does have limitations. One of the main limitation is this is not a chromatic instrument. Now, unless you know stuff about music, you're like, I have no idea what you just said. A what? A chromatic instrument. Chromatic means it plays in half steps, which is to say it can play within a certain range every note on the piano, including white and black keys. It can play the D major scale, but it can't play all the scales. So it can play in the key of D really well. It can be a little bit more challenging to play in other keys. There are notes that can't be played. They cannot be played on the instrument. That just isn't possible because of the arrangement of the frets. Enough of that. Let's hear it. First of all, just strumming chords. This is going to be slightly awkward for me. Normally, this would go on your lap, and you would play it like this, but you can't see it. So I'm going to try and hold it up here and play it like this, which is not the proper way to play the instrument. So let's just hear some chords. Yeah, sorry, it's the way I'm holding it, making it hard to get to the chords. Let's try again. Alright, I'm going to put it on my lap now because that's really hard. I can't play well like that. You also can, of course, play melodies. So I believe this is if I remember correctly, this is called Gray Cat on a Tennessee Farm. I'm not remembering how it went. Let's try that again. That's not Gray Cat. That's Cripple Creek. If you know some folk music, you probably know that one. It's pretty well known. Alright, so that's sort of Cripple Creek. Probably should have practiced that, especially playing without the music. But I didn't, so I just playing something for you. So notice there's 2 styles in dulcimer, you could say. The really folk style is to play everything on the melody string, and the other 2 strings are just drones. So let's say if we did Mary Had a Little Lamb like that, it would sound like this. We would call that's a modal playing. There's no chord change, it's just droning. So the regular Mary Had a Little Lamb would be, oops, try that again. Hear the chord change, just so you can hear the difference. Okay, so that's the mountain dulcimer. Now let's take a quick commercial break, so to say, as I've been doing in all these videos. Just a quick word to remind you and let you know that we are trying to start up some classes online with the Newport News Parks Rec and Tourism instructional programs. We've got classes for piano, so you can learn how to play piano, learn how to play the ukulele, learn how to play the guitar. In the future, you can learn how to play this. We do have classes in this. We're just not having them right now. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. All right, so this next instrument maybe doesn't entirely qualify for this. It used to be uncommon. It's not very uncommon anymore. It's actually become quite popular. And even when it was uncommon, most people had at least heard of it because it's associated with Hawaii. This is the ukulele. The one in my hand is a tenor ukulele. It is larger than the more common soprano ukulele. Ukulele, as you can see, it looks a lot like a little guitar. And also should point out, along with this not being quite so uncommon to be one of our unusual instruments, I also do know how to play this. In fact, in that commercial moments ago, you probably heard me say we have ukulele classes. So I do know how to play this, and it's really not that uncommon, but we're doing it anyways. So ukulele has 4 strings, while the guitar has 6 strings. Like the guitar, the ukulele can play chords. Am I on screen? Okay. And it can also play melodies. Let's go here. So this is the ukulele, and as I said, not quite so uncommon these days. It's actually become quite popular. All right, so this instrument is quite a bit more uncommon. This unusual instrument, unless you do bluegrass music, you may not have encountered. This is the mandolin. And I like to say the mandolin is like taking a guitar and smashing it into a violin to make a new instrument. It's played essentially like a guitar, but it is tuned like a violin. If we listen, if you know what a violin sounds like, you'll hear that. Hopefully it's still in tune. Oops, start from the bottom, sorry. The kind of sound a violin makes on the open strings. There is a big difference here. Violin has 4 strings. The mandolin has 4 sets of 2 strings. That is, the bottom string has 2 strings to the same tuning. So there's 2 strings on that note, which is a G. There's 2 strings on this note, which is a D. 2 strings on the A here, and 2 strings on the E. So every note here has 2 strings. Makes it louder for one thing. Skilled players, I'm not skilled at mandolin, can go back and forth and do interesting effects. Let's see if I can do a little. Yeah, not very good at it, but where you can go back and forth on the strings, get a sound effect that's pretty unique to the mandolin. Now again, I do sort of kind of play, but in this case I don't play very much. At one point I was working on learning it, so I do know a few chords. Of course, since it's tuned like a violin, I know the basic setup. I can play melodies on it. Let's see, how about a little Christmas music? Just because that's what's in my mind. All right, slight mess up there, but that was God Rest You Merry Gentlemen. So this is the mandolin. Let me play some chords for you before we wrap up. All right, so as I said, I can play that a little. That's about the extent of what I know right there. I did start to learn it, but then I didn't get very far. You know, there's only so many instruments you can practice in a day. All right, so let's move on. Before we move on, my quick commercial again, real quick. Join us online with the Newport News Parks and Rec Tourism instructional programs to learn piano, ukulele, or guitar, as well as we do have computer animation. All right, our next instrument, I almost can't fit it on the camera here. See there? Oop, the strap came undone. Is the banjo. Now, if you do into bluegrass or even just general country music, you may already be familiar with the banjo. It is, again, it's not that uncommon, but it is not entirely as common as the majority of instruments that you probably know. I don't know if I said that very well, but so the banjo can come in different amounts of strings. A basic banjo is 4 strings. I'd say probably the most common is 5 strings, and this is a 5-string banjo. Now, there are 4 tuning knobs, which you can't see. 4 tuning knobs at the top, and then the 5th one is right here. Now, the banjo has a drum head. Hear that ring? It's actually a drum head that is on the surface here under the strings, so that you could actually drum on it. All right, and normally there'd be an extra wood shell right here. Lost my strap again. But that came off and the screws are stripped, so I would have put it on for show, but when I moved it got boxed up and I don't know which box it's in. So banjo, again, played largely like a guitar. It does have more of a ring to it because of the drum head. Yeah. I don't really know how to play it. It does make, which is nice, it does make a major chord, nice chord, in this case a G chord, when you just play the strings if it's tuned properly, which means you can make other chords by simply covering a whole fret. Oops, I did not do that one. Well, it's because of the 5th string. I did start to learn the banjo and I did go through book 1, but I never actually got a hold of book 2 and went past that, and that was years ago, so I don't remember much. Let's see, this is a B. Let's see if we can play something. This is a, what is this? That's a G. No, that's a D. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, that wasn't very good. I was like, I'm just trying to figure out where the notes are. Alright, so that's the banjo. Nice instrument to end on. Pretty large instrument, but not that large. It's got a bit of weight to it because there is a lot of metal around the head here, and it'd be even heavier if it had the wood shell around it. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Unusual Instruments that I don't and somewhat do know how to play. Though that's not actually the title. The title is that I don't know how to play them. But we don't always follow those rules exactly. Anyways, be sure to check out our Newport News Parks Recreation instructional programs with piano classes and ukulele classes and guitar classes, as well as computer animation. And again, the link will be here on the screen. Once you get there, what you want to do is find the link to ActiveNet. ActiveNet is where you can search for the classes and sign up for them directly. Again, all these classes will be online for right now until things get better with the virus situation. Hope to see you soon, and until then, stay healthy and stay safe. Bye.